Everyone in the service industry has a story. Crazy customers, wild orders, and WTF moments. Do you want to start a tab? The podcast here to bring you those tales from behind the bar. My name is Carl. I've been bartending for 8+ years now.
My name's Riley. I have bartended in the past.
We're getting so, what's the word I'm looking for? Not generalization, but broad in our openings.
We're getting so, you could say obtuse. You could say vague.
Vague, yeah, that was the word I was looking for. So if you're not familiar with our lovely little podcast, we read stories about bartending life from the guest or the bartender experience and maybe dabble in the hospitality industry altogether. Then we talk about it, maybe go over what could have been handled differently, if there was an asshole, if there was a hero in the story. Then we rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being your average bar story, 5 being a unique situation that we have not heard or seen yet. So we like to drink on this podcast because we're a bartending podcast. So why not? What are we drinking today, Riley?
I don't know. What are we drinking, Carl? It has orgeat in it.
Yep.
And it has Campari in it.
Yep. So we ask each other what we want to drink, and the other person goes makes something, and Riley.
Smith & Cross in it. Has lime juice in it.
There's 3 other ingredients.
I know.
So I made a 7-part daiquiri, I guess. I don't know. I'm calling it the Dirty Bird. There's probably a drink called that. But.
Okay, so it doesn't have Dr. Bird in it then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it does?
Mm-hmm.
So I've just gotten 4 out of the 7 ingredients.
You got 5.
Oh, I got 5?
You're missing, maybe there's only 6. Okay, so there's lime juice.
Uh-huh.
There's a Thai orgeat I made, which is just almond, coconut milk, Thai chilies, ginger, and lemongrass infusion. There is Campari. There is Dr. Bird. There is Smith & Cross.
What?
And
why?
And
Plantation Zaimaka.
Hamilton Overproof Demerara rum.
Jesus.
So there's 6 ingredients. Guess what I call the Dirty Bird for.
Do you want me to be able to stand?
I don't give a shit what you do. You're sitting. We don't do this podcast standing up. All right, I've not tried. Neither of us have tried this thing yet.
I'm gonna have to roll to dinner, sir.
Roll to dinner. Cheers. This is gonna be amazing. It's actually pretty good.
Oh, well, it's got so many big things in it that they're all just kind of boring now.
Right? Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, yeah, and the overproof Demerara rum, that's the biggest component of the whole thing.
Naturally. Because why wouldn't it be?
Okay.
This is a Carl Busch concoction after all.
Yep. And then we have 2 light beers in case we in case we need that we got a Yingling and a Spotted Cow. We're going to read a couple stories for you, talk about it.
You know, sir, you're a real dick.
And she's talking about the cat, not me.
I mean, if the shoe fits.
I have pretty big feet. You want to go first, or you would like me go first?
Go ahead. Because I have a feeling that I'll be able to read better after we get this down than you will.
All right. I just Googled bartender stories, and this one happened to fall on it. This is in the subreddit called Ask Reddit. And it's a Reddit story called Bartenders of Reddit. What's the best, worst conversation you've overheard or situation you've seen from behind the bar? And then a bunch of people just listed their random stories.
Mm-hmm. And you found one that's interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So this was a comment from wage_slave 12 years ago. I was a bouncer for 5 years and got some time behind the bar when it was slow and I could make it a couple hours early for my shift. During the levels and dumping the cooler into the front fridges, I hear 2 women at the bar casually talking. Of course, just being there, I quietly listen. Female A. So he was pretty good in bed. We even had a joint afterwards and cuddled. It was awesome. I just feel so bad that I didn't tell him. I mean, he seemed okay with it and he said he would call. Female B. Well, that's kind of a bitch move, don't you think? I mean, I have told guys when I'm on my period before anything going too far. I hope he calls, but you should just be happy he didn't kill you. Female A. Well, it looked like he had murdered someone when he turned the lights on. It was everywhere. I didn't think I was having a heavy day at all. You should have seen the handprints on the wall. One was on the poster he had up for Clockwork Orange. At this point, I'm doing my best not to die laughing or toss my cookies on my clean bar. Back to the cooler to get a couple more cases, and upon my return, female A is on the phone and female B orders another round. When I put the drinks down, female A pulls the phone from her ear. Female A, hey, is your name Bouncer Dave? I go, well, just Dave, but yes, what can I do for you? Female A, I'm on the phone with your roommate. Glenn says hello, and to get back to work, slacker. Me, ... Thinking for a minute, takes a quick look of horror, and remember, Glenn just bought a Clockwork Orange poster. He hung it up just above the bedboard of his bed. With the world's worst poker face, I try to muscle out a laugh when the look of terror crosses her face. Her eyes scream, he knows, and female B bursts into laughter. She didn't finish her drink, left a good tip, and then they both left pretty much right afterwards.
There's so much to unpack.
So let's just start with overhearing stories that people talk about. I, as a bartender, do that all the time.
Right.
I have the best hearing when I'm working, and it goes completely out the door any other time. But
really?
It does.
It does.
But you listen to people's stories like, what the fuck are they talking about? And then you hear stuff like this and you just kind of laugh out loud sometimes. You try not to, but then I don't care. People are like, hey, I'll butt in sometimes if I feel like it's necessary.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack there. First of all, women have periods.
Yeah.
People with uteruses have periods.
The guy had to know. He knew. He didn't care.
Right.
Like, it's not your first time. Maybe.
Theoretically.
Maybe. But like, you know.
Should she maybe have mentioned it? Maybe. But should her friend have said, you're lucky he didn't kill you? No. Because we're grown-ups.
Right.
And if you are not grown up enough to accept that a woman is on her period, you are not grown up enough to be having sex.
Right. If you're not willing to have a little bit of throwing caution into the wind percentage of like, this might happen, sleeping with random women, then you don't sleep with random women.
Or sleep with people who have periods ever, because they're going to have periods.
Right. It's going to happen.
Literally.
I would love to see the handprint. Is it like on like the Star Wars movie where the guy has a handprint on his stormtrooper, like, you know, face that has like this long streak down his Clockwork Orange poster.
As a man, would you just trash your sheets and be fine? Like, what would you do?
Yeah, you're just done.
Yeah, you just trash your sheets.
They're just done.
I mean, unless they're dark colors and you can throw them in the washer.
Yeah. Unless they're that 2000 thread count, son. Egyptian thread.
But like, really, like, that shouldn't have been that big of a deal. But overhearing that story is hilarious.
Right. That's funny. It would have been funny too if the bar back was like making breakfast and he sees her walk out the door. And then he sees her later that day at the same bar. Like, what the fuck?
See that?
That kind of reminds me of like a Friends episode.
Yeah. That's where that story goes from to, oh shit.
Right. That's funny. Yeah. It's just, I mean, obviously there's a lot of like, how big is the town they live in? You know,
right.
Like the bigger the town, the more like, oh shit. Like that's hilarious. If it was like a town of 20, but obviously it's not.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? And this is posted 12 years ago. So I wonder how Barback Dave is doing now.
The Bouncer Dave?
Yeah, Bouncer Dave. Yeah. And Glenn. How Glenn's doing.
How Glenn is? Did he call her back?
They were talking on the phone at the bar.
Oh, right. You're right.
So did
she call him or did he call her?
I don't know.
It doesn't say.
There's 49 replies. I can see here. I actually think a period blood handprint would improve a Clockwork Orange poster. But it's not a period film. Let's see. Did he ever call her back? Sure did. They were on and off for a couple years after that.
Wild. I mean, good for Glenn.
Right. Yeah, Glenn don't give a fuck. He's getting some. Good job, Glenn.
It's all about the nookie.
It's all about the nookie. There we go. I would say from a small world aspect of things, of like they happen to go to the bar the next day or 2 days later, and their roommates. That's what kind of puts it out there for sure. I'll give it a 2.8.
2.8?
Yep.
The assholes of people who think that women don't have periods. That's it.
Oh, no. I mean, people that don't have sex with people on their periods. I guess that's not asshole. That's your choice. And as long as you make that known, there's no asshole in the story.
I don't know. I still feel like if you want to be in a relationship with somebody who has a period, then you have to be in a relationship with them all the time, not just for 3 out of 4.
Well, right. But that person doesn't exist in the story. That's just a generalization to the story. Right. So there is no asshole in this story. I don't think. It's just a fun.
I think the friend is an asshole for telling her that, you're lucky he didn't kill you.
Well, maybe she had a bad experience one time. She didn't tell a guy and the guy yelled at her.
Well, maybe that's them problem. I'm going to give this story, I'm going to go 3.1.
Okay.
Just from the kismet, as it were.
Right. If you have a better story you would like us to read, go ahead and go to our subreddit. Do you want to start a tab? There is a link in the YouTube video or any description of any podcast platform that you're listening to this wonderful ear candy on. Go ahead and submit it and let us read it, and we'll talk about it and have some fun with it. So your turn?
Yep.
Let's go.
All right. This one is called A Hammered Customer at the Bar Finally Got Under My Skin. Okay. Saddle up.
Finally.
Right. Like, what did he have to do?
All right.
Here we go. Usually, it's from the subreddit Bartenders, posted by Great Green Goblins 10 days ago. So this is a very fresh story.
Very fresh.
All right. It starts. Usually, I am excellent at brushing everything off and not letting things get to me. This guy was the first one who I'm still frustrated about. I work at a restaurant, not a dive, not a cocktail bar, just a family restaurant / sports bar. People are usually chill. I've seen maybe a handful of people get cut off in my 1.5 years working here. Last night, someone comes in and starts to chat up the folks around him who he didn't know. My radar went off and he kept throwing out red flags that I probably shouldn't serve him. So I have a quick word with my manager about him, and the manager looks over and goes, "Oh, I know that guy. I used to serve him. He's fine. Whatever." So he gets a shot and buys the girls next to him one too. Also gets some food. He's clearly bothering them, being touchy and weird, etc. Not speaking clearly, vacant eyes. He asks me for water. Hell yeah, you can have a water. As I'm going for it, he yells, "And a natural light." Hell no, you can't have that, I say back. Don't have it, sorry. He frowns. Mutters something about maybe offer me a Miller next time then, and I'm tired of this dude already. Have a word with my manager again about not wanting to serve him. Manager's like, don't give him the shot, but a beer is fine. I give him a Miller. He beckons me over. God, what do you want from me? He starts spouting off, I think you were very rude to me right now. I'm about to give you a life lesson. Listen up. You never know who you're talking to. You never know who has money, etc., etc. Slurring pretty good. He says something unintelligible. I say, dude, I don't understand what you're saying. He goes, well, fucking understand it, man. You feel like a badass back there, and just starts going off. I'm done. I walk away. He's still bothering the girls next to him. I turn my back and this dude is up and walking, stumbling towards the kitchen. Manager is right there. Thank God. He starts asking, who's got a problem? Manager goes, okay, you're hammered. Go back to your seat. A second later, his food is up. He gets his food and starts complaining about something. No idea what he was saying, but there was a fucking idiot in there somewhere. I just walk away and ignore the guy, and I'm irritated now. He's also pissed now. My manager walks over and talks to him again, and he says something out of line. I don't know what it was, but in the end, my manager finally says he has to go. Here's a to-go box. You've got to leave the restaurant right now. Enjoy your food. Dude bothers several tables on his way out before his buddy finally catches up to him and escorts him out the door. Man, I usually don't care, but this dude was blatantly hammered, and my manager still has me serve him. I'm pretty frustrated about it. His words don't bother me, obviously, but the situation was just so fucking annoying. That's it. Happy Friday, y'all. Let's get this bread again. I gotta say, this dude's or the OP's attitude, top notch. He just seems happy to be here.
Right.
But like, oof.
Yeah, that's a lot. Like dealing with that. I mean, at the end of the day, I get the discretion of cutting. I don't have to ask someone's permission. I mean, again, we're a cocktail bar, so there's only like one or two of us working.
Right.
And my manager's not always around because she's doing a bunch of other things.
Right.
So it's up to me or our door guy, Brett, if he's working. And we're just like, we tell each other this guy, woman is cut off. But to tell someone like, oh no, he's fine. It's like, well, it's a whole undermining thing when it comes to these situations. It's just
like bartenders should feel empowered to choose not to serve somebody because at the end of the day, if you overserve,
it's
and
on
something
you.
happens, it's on you. It's not on the bar.
Right. Or the manager because they're just managing.
You have to take responsibility for that. And your manager's not going to be there. Well, oh, he was fine. I saw him. No, your manager's going to throw you under the bus.
Because they got to look up for number one.
Right. So, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable serving somebody, don't serve them.
Yeah, especially then you start being like ordering a couple female shots, whatever, that's normal. But then like being like awkward and touching them and stuff like that, like, ugh.
Right. Like if the people around you are genuinely having a good time, then being drunk and ordering shots for them is fine. But being drunk and handsy and belligerent, rude, not okay.
Right. It's definitely, yeah. And then, I don't know. Then obviously he's trying to like do better by drinking water and ordering food and stuff like that. But it's obviously he's past the point of no return.
Right.
He's done. He should have done that 3 hours ago.
Right.
But yeah, this just sucks when you're just put in that awkward position. Because I've been in that awkward position where you have drunk people at the bar and they're just talking to other people. It's like you can tell that other person feels super awkward right now. But it's like, it's hard to know, like, how do I handle this situation? Because in theory, they're not doing it. They're just bothering someone, which is, I'm not trying to dismiss that
person is bothered, but at the same time, like it's not an actionable offense necessarily.
Right. Like if they were going up there and just keep touching them, I'm like, look, man, like
you can't be touching people.
Right. You know, and stuff like that. But it's also like, but it's also like, you know what, maybe at the end of the day, at the end of the day, you're trying to present an environment where you don't allow any of that to happen.
Right.
And you just fucking nip it in the butt. And, you know, at the hotel, we're not really given direction about where this goes, this line at. So I was like, I don't know which way to go because we've tried to handle things that we thought was the right way. And then we're told that's not the right way. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Well, and if you handled it the way that they told you to handle it after that, then you're going to be told that way was the wrong way. There's no winning in any situation. Right. And that's why it sucks to know you should cut somebody off, but like not being empowered to do it because you know you're going to have to suffer the repercussions. Right. They're going to call the hotel or they're going to call the establishment and they're going to complain about you. And it's supposed to be your discretion and your manager should back you up, but then they're going to yell at you because you cut off that revenue stream.
I think in the 2 years, because my 2-year anniversary is coming up, I think I've only cut off 3 people. I've now went up to their friends and like, I guess I probably cut off more than that, but I'll go up to friends and like, that person's done. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know you're just trying to have a good time. And for the most part, the friends are always like, yep, they know. Yep. They know that their friend's done.
Right.
They just kind of let it go until they're told to.
Right.
So.
Which is a shitty friend. Like, if your friend is that trashed, make them go home. Mm-hmm. Put them in an Uber, take them to their room. Whatever.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's just an awkward always position to be in, you know, because it is a fine line, right? Because you just don't know how these people are going to respond to what you're telling them. Usually they're fine, but usually sometimes you'll get that person that just does not like to be told this or that.
Yeah. And so you always have to be ready for aggression or for that negative review that people are going to yell at you for. Mm-hmm. But I mean, at the same time, I didn't bartend for very long, but when I did, if somebody was obviously belligerent, I would put a water in front of them and like, dude, I understand that you want to keep drinking, but you need to drink at least 2 glasses of water before I consider serving you.
Right. I know a lot of people do that. Like you need to chug this or drink this before
you need to drink this. I need to see you pee, then eat your food. And then once your food gets here and you get something else into your stomach, then maybe we can discuss the idea of you having a drink.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I don't know. The bartender seems like they did a great job handling the situation into the capacity that they were allowed to handle the situation in.
Right. And
then obviously the manager realized they fucked up and basically had to kick that person out.
Yep. It's nice that the manager actually like
owned it
and did kick them out instead of making the bartender do it.
Right. Yeah.
But also it's the I think you're very rude to me right now. I'm about to give you a life lesson. Listen up. You never know who you're talking to. You never know who has money. I don't give a fuck who has money.
I don't care. At the end of the day, actually, you are a shittier person, even though it doesn't matter, right? But it seems like in this world, maybe here just in America, but like the more money you have, the more respectful you like, I don't know, like it doesn't matter. Like you said, it doesn't matter how much money you make or nothing like that.
What matters to me is
you're a human being.
Is how you're treating me, how you're treating the other patrons at this bar, because I don't care how much money you're about to spend here. Because if you run off every other customer, you're not paying their tabs.
Right.
I would rather kick out one shitty rich customer than have
10 middle class workers.
10 people ordering one drink leave.
Yeah. Because they're going to come back.
Right.
And I don't have to worry about you scaring away customers.
Right.
My customers.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck those people. Like I don't need to know. Like we actually had, oh my God, that actually reminds me. During the International Film Festival, our door guy, he IDs almost everyone. Even though he knows they're over 21, he just asks for ID. Just because it's
cover your ass.
To cover your ass.
CYA, man.
And one guy was bigger than me, like 6'6", probably 280, just a big motherfucker. And his date, girlfriend, wife, whoever, didn't have her ID. He comes up to me. He's like, man, fuck that bitch. Like, what happened? And he's like, she called me a motherfucker. I go, why? I go, because I asked for her ID and she didn't have it and said I needed it. And then he asked me, do you know those two? Because sometimes we'll know them.
Right.
And then as long as I can vouch for them, but I'm like, I have no idea who those are. I go, why are they asking? He's like, because then the guy goes, well, do you know who I am? I'm the most important person here in this hotel. I go, tell him he's not the most important person. And, if you want to kick him out. Well, I didn't say that to him. I didn't get to that point because I was busy. And then just escalated, not too much worse than that, but just turned into this whole ordeal. But it's just like, who are you to say, do you know who I am? Obviously, if you have to say, do you know who I am? You're no one.
Or you're not important enough for me to know who you are.
That's what I'm saying.
You cannot be making the claim that I'm the most important person in this hotel if I don't know who you are.
Right, because when we have important people at the hotel, the hotel will tell us, hey, this athlete or this person is going to be in the hotel. Right. Okay. Because then guess what we do? We fucking Google who that person is.
So you know who they are.
So we know who they are. Because sometimes we don't know who those people are because of, you don't like sports. You don't like movies. You
end up sitting next to a very famous athlete for an hour chatting with them and have no idea who they are.
I loved it. I knew that was still going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. And it played off perfectly in my mind. And I loved every moment of it.
He doesn't look that big when he's sitting on a bar stool.
No one looks that big until they fucking stand up. Like, oh my God. Hall of Fame baseball player. Let's just put it there.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen him for a while.
Well, yeah, because everything at Dyersville is up and running.
Oh, they're about to do construction, but he's always a nice guy. And we have our dominoes together later today. It's a special thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, on that story, oh, man, it's kind of like, it's not a fine line, but it's kind of like it could go either way with a higher score or lower score because, you kind of deal with this shit, but
it's just like every story. It's the compounding issues.
I'll give it 2-3.
Yeah, I'm.
No, I'll give it 2-8 because of the manager first denying like, oh, hey, it's good to go. But then like they did own up to it. So you don't see that a lot. Or, I mean, that's not true. A lot of people will own up to their shit, especially in this world, because a lot of things can change in 30 minutes or less.
Right.
But honestly though, I mean, like an hour or less, like a lot of things can happen because there's a lot of circumstances you don't know. So cool that manager owned up to it, even though you should have just listened to your bartender and like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
They didn't cut off a table of 10. They cut off one person at the bar.
Right.
So
I was going to give it a 1.8 because it seems like a pretty run-of-the-mill interaction, whether or not the bartender, whether or not the manager is supportive. But I actually think I'm going to bump it up to 2.3.
Okay.
Just because this bartender seems just to have one of the best attitudes I've seen in the industry. Granted, maybe that's just the way they wrote, but they generally seem pretty positive about their job.
Right.
And I want to encourage that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to run this no matter what type of where you work as a bartender. No matter where, no matter if it's fucking $500 a plate.
Yep.
Or to $8 for a fucking hot dog.
You're always going to have a middle-aged, almost always white person complaining that they deserve better treatment or they need something because you messed something up or whatever it is.
Yep. So yeah, there we go. There's our 2 stories for today's episode.
Yep.
Hope you guys enjoyed. If you find this podcast fun, go ahead and give us a rating on whatever podcast platform you listen to. It helps the algorithm and push this in front of more people. But the best way to help us is 2 ways. Share this podcast with a friend or family member that would find us entertaining. And then also supporting us on our Patreon for $3 a month on patreon.com/do you want to start a tab. We do bonus episodes. We interview guests. It's called Last Call. We talk to them about what got them into the industry and what they're doing now with their lives. Then Riley and I also have our own discussions. We talked about how we met one time.
Yep.
And then on this episode that we're going to record is about me winning Iowa's Best Mixologist for the 3rd time.
Yep. And that will be released as next week's episode.
That will be released as a bonus episode, free for everyone to enjoy. Kind of like show people what they could be getting into. So
yeah, so you can check it out. See if you want to stick around for Last Call with us.
Yep, exactly. And always remember, don't be a dick, tip your bartenders, and drink responsibly.